Hello and welcome back to the NJ Fire Guys podcast. I am your host, Nick Palumbo. Tonight we have another great episode. I think I'm a little biased. I think all of our episodes are great. This is run number 44, and we have Captain Constantine Sypsomos. Constantine Sypsomos is a seasoned fire service professional with extensive experience in emergency response, training, and public safety education, currently serving as a career captain in the Deptford Township Fire Department. He is the department's training officer and liaison for high-rate response, traffic incident management, and active shooter hostile threat response initiatives. A New Jersey Level 2 fire instructor and a New Jersey EMT instructor, Constantine is also a certified fire official and investigator, bringing a wealth of experience to his leadership roles. His passion for education extends to his position as program coordinator for the Fire Inspection Fire Official Program at the Gloucester County Institute of Technology and as training officer for the NJ EMS Task Force Southern Region. Beyond his department responsibilities, Constantine has dedicated himself to advancing public safety through instruction and public speaking. He has presented at prestigious events such as the National Conference of EMS, New Jersey Emergency Preparedness Conference, and the National Collegiate EMS Foundation. With a parallel career in EMS, Constantine serves as an EMT in Gloucester County EMS and Cooper University Hospital EMS in the city of Camden. A committed union leader, he has served as secretary and vice president of the IAFF Local 3592 from 2007 to 2023 and continues his advocacy as vice president of the IAFF Local 5025. His diverse experience and leadership have made him a trusted voice in emergency services and as influential figure in the fire and EMS education. Wow. Without further interruption, I'd like to introduce Constantine Sypsomos.
Hey,
I hope I said it right.
Yeah, common spelling, by the way.
Common spelling. Spelling.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good, man.
How's
Thanks.
everything? How was your holiday?
It's good. Very good. Busy. How about yours?
Good. I wasn't at work for once.
It did work, but got done pretty early, so I still got to have the good food and family time after.
Good. That's all that matters, man. Family is all that matters. That's why we do this, right?
Yes, we do.
All right. So let's get started. Where'd you grow up? What brought you to the emergency services?
So I grew up in Deptford, in South Jersey, Gloucester County, and ironically, I grew up right across the street from the firehouse where I started to volunteer when I was 14.
Okay.
And, I was the little kid. I'd run to the window. I'd hear the siren, the air raid siren go off. I'd go. I'd watch the trucks pull out, and sometimes I'd chase them down the street. Sometimes my mom or dad would get in the car and follow them, take me to the call, which was cool, and check them out. So when I was 14, I finally decided to walk across the street and to check it out. And they said, hey, listen, you can join. They didn't have Explorers at the time. I'm going back to 1997. They said,
okay,
called apprentices. And, you can't run calls till you're 16, but you can come in and hang out, do fundraisers, learn stuff. And I'm like, hey, that sounds good. So they give me an application. So ironically, I take the application home. I'm filling it out. And my mom says to me, hey, you're not going to follow through with that. She goes, you don't really like to do anything, because I never was a sports kid or anything. And I said, well, I'm going to try it out. You never know, and here we are today. And obviously I liked it.
I was going to say, you showed her wrong.
So I joined when I was 14. I became a junior at 16. I was able to, run calls and started getting into it. And I really wasn't sure what career path I was going down. So when I was 16, a couple of the guys at the firehouse that I was at were also EMTs on the ambulance squad. And they said, hey, why don't you go get your EMT, or why don't you come to a ride along with us? And I said, well, if I do it, it's just for the fire department. So I did. I went to EMT school at 16. And I got to tell you, man, I had some struggles. I'll be the first to tell you, it took me a couple of times to pass that test. I've actually taught 16-year-olds in the EMT program. And maybe it's just a different day and age. But looking back on it, man, that's not easy at 16 to have all that knowledge and understanding. It's a lot of information.
Especially when you're still in school.
Yeah,
you're still
sure.
It's one thing like summer, all right, but
So
Especially if you're in school all day and then class all.
So I got the EMT and did a couple of ride-alongs with the squad, the BLS unit, and I was like, hey, this isn't bad either. You know, I could do this too to help out, and you know, started doing that. So I was still, you know, undecided on career path. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the fire test and the police test. But originally, I wanted to be a doctor, and I said that ain't going to happen. Too much books, too much.
That's
stuff.
way too.
So then I like cooking. I was going to open a restaurant and go in the restaurant business. I was going to open a diner, you know, because you have to.
We're not going to stereotype too much there.
But you know, the best food, right? It's the best cooks. Yeah. So I wanted to do that. And then I took the test and, you know, I started working EMS, you know, when I was 18 and legally able to work. And I started, you know, riding the BLS, and I did that full time and part time in a lot of different places. And, you know, I'm glad I did. That was one of the best decisions I ever made. Because, again, I only took the EMT for the fire department to become a career.
I think we all did.
I'd go talk to the guys, the staff, and they would, you know, hey, this is what you got. This is how the testing process works. This is the job. And they explain all the good stuff about it. And, you know, being young, I didn't know that much about it. So when I turned 19, in September is my birthday, October was like election time. And I got, you know, a position as a volunteer lieutenant. So let's start there. I tell
How old were you?
19. 19.
Okay.
So I tell anybody this, especially when I'm teaching. I look back and I thank God I didn't hurt or kill someone. Because had I known then what I know today, it would have never happened. I wasn't like an arrogant kid. It was just like, oh, I got Fire 1, I got I-200, I have Extrication 1. What more do I need? I know how to talk on the radio. I know how to do this. I didn't know building construction. I didn't know size up. I didn't know, you know, company strategy and tactics and operations. It's too young. You know, I hear a lot of guys say, I want to be an officer, and that's great. It's too young. And I regret doing it now because I say that about drivers. Yeah.
Until you've had the nozzle inside a house that's on inside a fire and feel what that 10 pounds plus or minus feels like when you're engaged in battle, you don't belong on the pump panel.
No.
And if you don't belong on the pump panel, you don't belong behind that wheel.
Yeah. Now you're 100%. I couldn't even pump the truck. I was 19. I couldn't drive till I was 21 because of, you know, insurance and whatnot. And here I am leading the pack and supposed to know the ins and outs of the truck. I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But here I'm the officer. And looking back, that's scary. You can't change the past, but looking back, hopefully you can prevent something like that in the future. That's not good. It's not a good way to be. And
now, had Deptford always? Can you tell us about the department and a little bit of the background?
Absolutely.
Because like I know they have a career staff. I don't like how far back do they go? Like
sure. So we're about 18 square miles, a very diverse town. You know, residential, some commercial, a little bit of industrial, a large shopping district, one of the largest ones.
The Deptford Mall.
I mean, we have a huge shopping district, highways. We have State Highway 55, Route 42, New Jersey Turnpike, 295. So we have a lot of highway response. So we have a pretty good makeup of calls, apartment complexes, you name it. So basically, our career staff started in 1982, I believe.
Oh, wow.
That was the original staff, you know, and they were all like, you know, the history is kind of interesting. You know, they had one guy assigned each station. So it was like a driver only. And, you know, it was really hearing the stories from some of the older guys really is really cool to hear how it went down back in the day. So it's really neat. So they were running, we had 8 stations at the time. We now have 7.
Okay.
And, you know, we have a very unique dynamic, the way we kind of operate, just with, you know, personnel and staffing and command staff and things like that, which I can get into a little further. But basically now we currently have 16 career staff.
Okay.
We work Monday through Friday. We work staggered. We have coverage from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we cover 13 hours a day, but with 2 different shifts, an early company and a late company. So the shift I currently work, I go in at 5 a.m. and work till 1:30 p.m. And when you tell people that, they go, what kind of shift is that? And I say, well, it's a coverage shift. What it comes down to, you know, 5 a.m.
You're catching that morning witching hour when all the volunteers are getting ready to go to work.
Yeah, and you get done at 1:30, and it's weird. I mean, people say, oh, that's kind of cool, and I'm like, it's actually a little odd, but that's neither here nor there. So then our other crew comes in at 9:30 and works till 6 at night. That's our current makeup, 9:30 A to 6 P.
Okay.
So back in the day, we used to run 4 staffed companies. We had 2 early crews, 2 late crews. So we had engine, SWAD, rescue, and ladder staffed. And as time went on, and through attrition and retirement, members left and retired, so they shut a house. So now we're down to 3 companies. And then time went on. Now we're down to 2 companies, just by not replacing or not strategically, putting out our personnel. So, I think a lot of departments go through this. You regress a little bit, you progress, you regress, but right now we're just in a tough spot. So that's how we currently operate. It's a little bit off. So, our command staff, we have a battalion and 2 captains currently. Okay. So we have 4 volunteer battalion chiefs, and then we have a volunteer chief of department. Okay. And the unique part about us is, though, there's a lot of times where the captain, the company officer, like myself and my partner, Captain Bender, we're operating like battalion chiefs, because there may be a time when the battalion's not on duty, or you're not getting a volunteer chief just by luck of the draw, time of day, type of call. Yeah. So we actually are operating more on a chief level at most times, because somebody has to run the scene, right? So again, our dynamic's a little bit different than a lot of other towns. Yeah. But that's kind of our makeup. But we do about our average is probably anywhere from 1,400 to 1,500 runs a year, department wide.
Wow. Now, do you guys have the ambulance? I'm sorry.
We don't. So the ambulance is under Gloucester County. So we are under the county. We used to have Deptford used to have their own ambulance through the township, and then a couple of years back they gave in and went to the county system. For many different reasons, many variables. And it's working out pretty well. So we have a good relationship with them.
Regionalization.
Yeah. Oh, don't mention that word. Listen, if it's done right, I'm all for it. But
there you go.
You got people that say it doesn't work. Well, it does work. So
North Hudson.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny you say regionalization, because down here where I'm at in Gloucester County, Camden County, nobody wants to take their name off the truck. I get it. Tradition, pride. I understand it. And nobody wants to regionalize. But what is every town doing? Task forces. A truck might pull up to a house that's not the town that they live in, or not the town that it serves every day. But just because of duty crew programs and consolidation, you're already consolidated, but nobody wants to say that. So
my father always used to say, if my house is on fire, I don't care if the truck that pulls up in front says Kansas City.
Sure. Agree. Are the guys trained? Are the personnel trained? Do they know what they're doing? And, can they get the job done effectively and efficiently? And that's what it's all about. I don't care what the name says either.
Yeah. I don't care. Yellow, blue, green. It just shows up.
Yeah. It shows up, and you get the job and the task done, and you're there for the people. That's what you're there for.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's get into it. Let's, the early days. What would, you were 16, you became a junior. You went to the academy, I'm guessing 17 and a half, 18.
So 17 and a half. But here's the funny thing. We actually had our own academy. The town we still currently have an EO, an eligible organization, but we actually had our own academy. And a lot of the old-time career staff were the instructors. And we actually did our own Fire One program. So that was kind of, different, and that was neat. So I did everything right in town. And then once we got our live burns, we went to the academy, but everything else was done in town, in-house.
That's awesome.
So we actually were at one time pretty premier for like training in the whole area. We had our stuff together, extrication. We were actually going out. I shouldn't say we, the guys.
But the department
out training other towns, because they had a good reputation for educate or extrication and different types of education and experience. And listen, Nick, you know how it is, man. Nobody burns anymore like they used to.
No.
But back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, man, these guys caught a lot of work.
Yeah.
We don't burn like we used to. Even when I joined, I could tell you right now.
Same.
I've seen the decrease in work in the past 10 years.
Same.
I mean, we used to get, you'd probably go to at least 2 fires a month, and you knew it was something.
Yeah.
And now it's not like that today.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
With,
same.
With training and recruitment with new people, you want to get them experience. but the fire prevention is so good, and which is a good thing. But
Well, and like I always go back to when I was a little kid and my dad was a volunteer. You know, there was the pager. You know, I lived 6 blocks behind the firehouse. You had the air horn on top of the firehouse. You heard the calls. Let's face fact, like there wasn't the alarm systems like you have now.
Yep.
Not every building was alarmed. You
CO
know, there was no, you know, you didn't have residential fire alarms. You didn't have sprinkler alarms.
Right.
You didn't have, you know, CO detectors. Well, it wasn't a thing.
Right.
You know, and a lot of fire departments weren't doing extrication.
Yeah.
There was no hazmat calls. There was no fluid spills.
Yeah.
Nobody cared about that stuff.
Think about hazards.
My dad's pager went off. It seemed like every time it went off, it was a fire.
Yeah, you're right. Or something legit, at least something.
Or the 6 o'clock test.
Yeah, or something worthwhile.
Yeah,
you knew you were doing something on this call.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, and the other thing is too, like with us, you see a decrease even in our extrication because over the years, improvements in roadways and intersections, more traffic lights, you know, more traffic in general, less speed.
Yeah, exactly. You can't get up to speed.
No, you don't get them like you used to. And I can tell you from working on the EMS unit in town, I was full-time with Deptford EMS for 4 years of my 6 years there. I'm telling you, in early 2000s even, we were cutting people out sometimes twice a week. And that's no exaggeration. I mean, it was in town. That wasn't even counting the highways. We just were getting wrecks like crazy before they improved the different intersections. So you got a lot of experience and a lot of work.
Lubes J would like to thank you for your service.
Thanks, Jay. I appreciate that.
But yeah, it's definitely, and I don't even want to say we don't get the fires that we use. It just kind of, I think it seems like we don't get the fires because they're not as big and magnificent, if you will.
Yeah.
And there's so much BS, or we call them BS calls, between them that it kind of whitewashes them.
Yeah. So I tell my well, they're not probies anymore, but they just got off probation last month. But I tell them all the time, guys, look, you're hungry, aggressive. I want that. Don't ever lose that. But you got 30 years ahead of you. You're gonna go to fires. You're gonna have slow. I want them trained that way to think you're not gonna go to a fire every day. When I did their orientation on day one, I told them, this is not, an urban department, and even we see cities that aren't burning like they used to, but you're not urban. You're not going to go to a fire every day or every week, but you're going to go to them. You'll get them. Trust me. Just let the process play itself out. You're going to get a lot of experience. You're going to go to a lot of runs, but fire duty is low, but you will get it. Yeah. And we all want to go to a fire. I get it. I don't want to see nobody's house burn or somebody hurt, but we want to do our job and do it right. And that's any firefighter's, goal, or it should be. You want to do the right thing and help people. You want to use your training. That's why we exist. Yeah. That's why we float to this job. If you have other reasons or other inhibitions that brought you here, then you're in the wrong place. And unfortunately, there's too many people like that. I agree. You have a lot of, lack of a better term, a lot of yahoos in public safety, and you know who they are. Everybody knows who they are. They're not hiding nothing. You know who they are. You know the people that aren't going to wear an air pack. You know the people that put the costume on just to show up to say, "Hey, this makes me feel good," or "I'm out doing something." Yeah. And it's a challenge because you can't retain someone like that. Yeah. It's hard to train someone like that. Their thinking is not like your thinking, and exactly doing the right thing for the people and getting the job done. Because you ask them, "Why are you here?" They can't answer that question. You should be able to answer that question. If I say, "Why are you in the fire department? Why are you on the ambulance? Why are you a police officer?" You should be able to at least give one reason. Yeah. Not stare and say, "I don't know." Yeah, exactly. I agree. I ask people that all the time because, like me, I say it on the show all the time. Like, I don't know why. Like, if my father, my uncles, my family wasn't in the fire service, the house across the street from me burned when I was a little kid. That might have been the only time I gave a shit about the fire service. Like, 100%. Yeah. But I find it interesting that people like to ask people, especially
people who don't necessarily like have any ties to the fire service or the EMS or the law enforcement. Like you see us on the news in the worst of situations.
Yeah.
What made you think, hey, that's a great idea?
Yeah, you're right. You know what other thing that makes me laugh is like a lot of these people, and I know a lot of it's just ball breaking and joking and all that, and you know, everybody's got their point of view. But these people with the job town and go get them brothers, listen, man, that does nothing for me. If it doesn't satisfy you, go ahead. But when I see that, I sometimes question who I'm, conversating with or who I'm, and again, I know somebody make, thank you for your service, things like that. Job town. I don't get it. I
got you. It was a big, what was it? It was a bunch of juniors used to call each other heroes.
Right.
Like, I mean, what? Hero? What? No.
And listen, you can have pride, you can have tradition,
absolutely,
you can have all that good stuff in a professional way.
Exactly.
Just yesterday in Gloucester County, it was an unfortunate, sad Christmas. We had 3 fires in Gloucester County yesterday, all like 3, and all like decent jobs.
Yeah.
And the one, I kind of belong to a couple of different groups and all. We have some, we share photos, we share updates, and
yeah.
So I saw one picture somebody put up, and they put a comment or on the picture, I don't know who it was, and it said something along the lines of Santa's an arsonist this year. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Like, that person's house just burnt down on Christmas Day, and we're really going to joke about that? Like,
yeah.
To me, I don't think something like that's funny.
No,
like, I'm not like, oh, this is the end of the world, but like, it's just,
you
look at that, and I'm just like, man, who writes something like that? I just don't think that's appealing, and for somebody to even think that as a joke, it's just not, not fun.
No, I agree 100%. I agree.
But,
and I mean, granted,
you deal with.
And I mean, granted, it's kind of morbid, but if God were to come down and say, hey, this whole fire thing, I was wrong about it, there's no more fire, I'd be screwed.
Yeah.
I'd be screwed. My part-time job, I'm an investigator. I'm out.
No, you're right.
I'm on the street selling pencils.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. But so that's kind of a little bit about, like I said, the makeup of our department and some of the riffraff and the fire service as a whole, public safety as a whole. It's not just fire.
It's become a business.
Yeah.
Just like any other business. We got our trash.
It's a business. And I'm 50-50 on that term. I still think it's a critical infrastructure.
Oh, absolutely. No. Don't take me wrong. It absolutely.
People treat it like a business and say, "Oh, it's a business." Well, it is to a certain extent.
Well, and in that same respect, you're a union rep. We need to treat this as a business to an extent.
100%.
Like unfortunately, we have managers and department heads in this field that treat it like it's still, the 1960s, 1970s, where, it's 20 years, start fundraising for a new fire engine, and maybe this time we'll get a pumper.
Yeah.
No, we need to start 5, 10, 15, 20-year plans.
Yep.
Update them, justification, be transparent with our people and with the community, and say, hey, you know what? Your taxes are going to go up because a fire truck doesn't cost $50,000 anymore. It's now $2 million.
Nick, you bring up a really good point there. Good topic of discussion. You said about being transparent with your people, right? Well, one big thing is involving them in the change. That's huge, right? Involving them, keeping them informed and up to date. But also for the leadership and command staff to understand, just because you wear bars does not mean you're the do-all, say-all. Because your member that might be, rank and file, they can bring something to the table that nobody else can. So you have to know your people to say, hey, that guy's got a business degree, or that guy has experience in this line of work. So we need to bring him to this committee or to this meeting and say, what would you suggest? How do we present this? Hey, this guy's good with a computer. He's good with PowerPoint, whatever. It's all about how you sell it. And I'm not saying BS people, but, stats, numbers, whatever it is, you make presentation, you go to the taxpayer or the resident, you say, look, here's where we're at. and we want to present this to you. And listen, nothing happens overnight. We know that.
Of course.
You start the process and you say, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. We want your feedback. We want your advice, your opinion, and you come to a happy medium.
Yeah.
Nobody wants their taxes to go up. We know that.
Of course not.
Listen, everything else goes up. Why would your taxes not go up?
Exactly. Well, and along that lines, everything goes up. How do I am connected to a fire district in a manner of speaking, that they have career staffing. Well, that career staffing had, I think their last contract was like 2.5% for each year for 5. You didn't raise your budget. How are you, like, if you're not raising taxes or your budget, how are you giving these people their 2.5%?
Sure.
Oh, we're going to pull it from here. Okay, well, what about when we pulled the entire budget? Now we're going to have to go to the taxpayers for a referendum to raise for a substantial raise, and we're going to blame our career staffing, not our poor management of our funds.
We're always to blame. Listen,
not our poor planning.
Next, for years, you'll hear in different departments, including mine, oh, we can't, the career staff's over half the budget. No, that's not true. Do the math, do the number, but it's easy to say it and not back it up with facts.
Of course.
So another thing that you kind of brought up with fire districts versus municipalities versus cities, a lot of people don't know the difference and understand because we don't put the information out there. So when you tell people in North Jersey about
because for years and years, I didn't want people to know that they could vote on their fire district budget or for their elected officials.
Yeah.
That's why we had our secret little third Saturday in February. Hint for anybody who wants to go out and vote. Election for our budget and our commissioners.
When you have guys up in North Jersey, right, and you talk fire commissioners, you know what they think? And I've heard this many years at union meetings and whatnot. You say fire commissioner, they're like, oh, like a Philadelphia Fire Department commissioner, like a New York City commissioner. I'm like, no, we're governed on. We still have chiefs, but they are the governing body. And they're like, so the commissioner runs fires. I'm like, no, that's not how it works because they don't know that.
You gotta specify where in Jersey, because I grew up in municipal run departments surrounded by fire districts, and we didn't have shit. They had more money than they knew what to do with.
How many people don't know what a combo department is?
Yeah,
or the difference in volunteer and career staff. So I got to tell you a quick story on that real fast. So a couple of years back at a PFA&J convention, I was invited to sit on a committee. It was like a Q&A committee, just like a general thing in front of the body, So one of your previous guests, Chief Sypsomos, was in this committee. And I hope she sees this and kind of remembers me because she was awesome to talk to and whatnot. So we got talking and we were talking about the makeups of departments. So when I told her where I was from and how we operate, she literally looked at me and goes, "What is it?" I said, "A combination." She goes, "I wouldn't even know how to deal with that." And this is somebody who's in Jersey City with all this knowledge, 600 members. And she's like, "A combination department. I wouldn't even know where to start." I'm like, "Trust me, it's not easy. I wouldn't know where to start where you're at," but it was just funny because the makeup, she's like, "I have no idea how that works." Like, just because that's not her forte, like that. She's like, "I had no idea how that would even work." I said, we have this many volunteers, this many career staff. We were on the same doing this together. And she goes, "No idea how you make that work."
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's a challenge.
Well, and also you come from a fully career department where I got 4 bugles on my collar and I walk into a firehouse and people jump to attention.
Sure.
And now I walk into a volunteer firehouse and I got 5 bugles on my collar and nobody gives a shit who I am.
The respect is definitely not where it should be, I think, and I always try to push that, like, at least on our ranks, put that good example into the newer members' minds, if a chief comes in, it's always, "Hey, chief." If we're on a scene, it's always, "Chief." It should be, "Hey, Cap, I need," you want to be personable, but there's a time and place, you
absolutely
want to that respect. I always thought that way, Even when I was rank and file, man, I was always like, Cap,
Yeah.
you want this, you want, it was just in my nature because I always wanted to be that better, better person.
No, I agree 100%. So if you have rank and I don't call you by your rank, I think a lot of the people around me realize that if you have a rank and I don't call you by it, I don't respect you.
Yeah.
I respect your title, but I have no respect for you.
Yeah, no doubt.
And we had a chief. I'm not going to say what department it was, but like dinner time, everybody's having their dinner. We're busting. As soon as dinner was over and we started busting chops, he got up and cleaned his plate off, put it in the dishwasher, and he went back to his office. This is a guy that came up through the ranks. He didn't want to sit there and say, "Hey, I can't hear that anymore. Hey, I can't be a part of this conversation anymore." But he knew he couldn't. But he didn't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So he got up and excused himself. Which I see that. Like I can understand that and I respect that. And after the fact, like him and I talked about this after he retired. And that's when he explained like his point of view and why he did that. And I was like, you know what? I never thought about that. Like you're one of the guys when we're sitting and we all say no rank in the kitchen, no rank at the table. But at the same time, somebody says something out of line. How do I expect Chief, you were sitting right there.
Yeah. So
you just put him in a really bad spot.
It's funny you say that. I've had times where I've walked out of a room or straight up said, "Hey man, I can't hear that. You guys go do your thing." Look, and that's mutual respect. They get it. I even tell my guys all the time, I want you to go out and vent about me. Good, bad, and different, because it's natural. It's you. Go if I did something wrong and you're like, "Hey man, what's up with him today?" or what, go ahead.
Yeah,
you're going to. I'd rather tell you straight up. I know you're going to do it. Just go ahead and do it. I did it when I was a fire. I get it. Like you love your people, but some days it was like, dude, what's his problem today? Or why that?
We all have our days. We all have, we all have our personal lives, and we're all going to have our days where we're not going to get along, and you're not going to get along with this one every day or that one. Yeah. We all have personalities, and nobody checks. There's a line between ball busting and harassment.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you have to
in the emergency services, that line's a little bit thinner than most occupations, but it is what it is. I mean,
and listen, you got to set expectations too.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I have my routine, the way we do things, and listen, I'm flexible and adaptable, and with anything, but consistency is key. And it does help, and it gets everybody in kind of a routine, so they know kind of what's expected. We talk about expectations all the time. From day one, I said, look, I don't need to tell you what to do. You guys know what to do because we train that way. I don't need to tell you. Listen, micromanaging the fire service never happens, right? Yeah, okay. Like you should hear some of the fires I listen to around here. And again, I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking them, but you listen and you're thinking, do you really have to tell the ladder company to throw ground ladders? That is
shouldn't have to.
Do I have to tell you stretch a line on the second floor?
Another one. See the opposite side of that gets me. Engine 5s arriving on location. What's your pleasure? Whoa. I expect you to see where I'm at.
Yeah.
Where the scene is at right now. You're an engine company. You got a lot of hose behind you. Either stretch or stand by.
When you pull up to a scene, you do your size up, your 360, you got 100 things to do as an officer or a battalion. But as the firefighter, you know what to do. So I always tell these guys, unless it's an extenuating circumstance or unusual you know what line to pull. I'm not going to say pull, unless it's something really off the wall and I say, yo, I want this line.
Yeah.
You know what line to pull. You know what tools you need. I love hearing this one for an alarm. Come forward with a ticket and a can. Shouldn't that be your standard operating procedure? But it still happens in so many departments. And it's like, why? What are we doing wrong here? Where are we failing? Well, I know where we're failing. You really don't know where we're failing? With every department's issue. Police,
Mm-hmm.
fire, and EMS, even the good departments, what's their issue half the time? Lack of leadership,
Yep.
lack of training, lack of communication. Look at
Confidence.
any after-action review for
Yep.
every incident. What do you say? We
Yeah.
could have done this better. Training. Communication sucked. This person didn't know what they were doing. They weren't on the right channel, right? Lack of leadership. We didn't have enough staff. We didn't have enough command staff in command roles.
We
And
didn't have policies that were trained into our people and communicated our expectations.
Yep, 100%. And that is where most
Now,
departments
I'm not a policy guide, you know, even though a lot of policies have been written about me, but or because of me. But if you have a policy or a guideline, an SOG that says this is what we do, this is what we do, yeah, in absence of orders, follow the plan.
Yep.
Follow your training, because don't just write. And that's another thing. You write a policy, you write a guide, and then you don't train on it. You need to train on those.
I think that's a huge issue in most.
And you need to reevaluate them and update them.
Listen, I've seen policies that have been outdated for the past 15 years and haven't been touched, and that's a problem. But like you said, train on them, and that is training. That you pull out 2 or 3 policies and you go over them, or guidelines, whatever your department wants to call them. I'm a guideline person, but on what you want, as long as they understand the purpose of it, and keep them short and simple. You don't need a 7-page document. Just keep it simple. This is what we do. This is why we do it, and this is how we do it. And if you train on that, it's going to fall into place. But here's the plan B in the event that doesn't happen. Have that backup plan. Have that contingency plan. Why we failed that, I don't know, because it really is simple fixes.
Yeah.
Another good topic to talk about, the leadership. Simple fixes. I always say it's the little things. You don't fix the little things, what happens?
They become big things.
They become big things. And it's so simple to fix a lot of the things. And what do? We blow them off and ignore it. So when you sign up to be a leader, what do you sign up for?
Excuse me.
Okay, you're going to get people that say, hey, I want the pay increase. Okay, that's your prerogative. That's fine. Hey, I really
you're going to earn it.
Hey, I really want to make change. Okay, good. I'm all for that. But what is your ultimate goal when you signed up? You'll never hear me say, you'll hear me vent, and I'll say, Mondays suck.
Yeah.
You'll never hear me say, I hate being the leader. Or, well, this sucks. I have to. No, because I know what I signed up for. I had an expectation. And I know the process I went through to get there. So I'm not complaining. Tell the guys all the time, I'm not bitching. I am venting a little bit, and you don't bitch. You don't bitch down, right? You bitch up. But sometimes you have to talk and vent. And they know, like, it's not. What's the saying from Saving Private Ryan when he says, I don't bitch to you, I bitch up.
I bitch up.
100% true. But sometimes you got to vent, and just say, hey, man, I got to get this off my chest. But it's tough, man. When you're the leader and you're the guy in charge, you better be there for the right reasons and do a good job.
Real quick, is your career staff, are you guys in the same house?
No, we currently run out of 2 different houses.
Okay.
We used to have 4 houses, man, and then went down to 3, and now down to 2.
Sorry, I know that was a sidetrack, but
no, you're good, man. No, that's all. Yeah, so we run out of two companies out of 2 different locations.
Now, what is it? 2 guys in each house come in at a certain time, and then the 2 guys come in.
So my crew right now, we're running heavy. I have 6, so we come in at 5, and then the other crew right now is down to 5. So our guy, one of our guys, just got back from military. And he will be back to work, I believe, in about 2 to 3 weeks. So they'll have their extra guy, which is good. And we have a guy on medical right now, Captain out on medical. So, unknown when he's coming back. But so we'll be.
So like you were saying, you go in at 5:30. So your company comes in at 5:30. The other company comes in at 9:30.
Yep, okay. 5 a.m. and 9:30. Yep. So we.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good, man. But listen, man, I'll tell you like it is, though, man. You're on John Wayne time. And especially my company, the late crew, you probably have a better turnout of personnel in the late afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
In the morning is not good. You could be in your own for a little bit, but we train that way. That's your reality, and you have to train that way.
Yeah.
And listen, I tell the guys all the time, I won't get anybody hurt. I will special call whoever I have to. And it's not a shot at anyone. It's nothing personal. I have an obligation and responsibility. as a
Yeah,
leader, as a
absolutely.
boss, whatever you want to call it, and I will honor that. I'm not going to, I won't get somebody hurt just to say, well, I didn't want to call for another company because I was given a few minutes for this. No,
Yeah.
that's not how it works in any entity, and it shouldn't.
No,
You
you're
need
100% right.
But yeah. So I mean that's kind of how we operate the two companies, and we have 3 people in the office too, the battalion, and then we have a fire marshal and a deputy fire marshal in the office. Now they're also UFD firefighters, so
Okay.
we can get them as well. In 2 vehicles if it's something, and they could do firefighting duties as well, which is nice.
Okay. Cool. All right, so let's get into some of your training experience, like your teaching and your presenting.
Yeah, for sure. So funny story about that. When I was in high school, I was the kid that did not want to do public speaking. When I was in English class and, you had to give certain topics, I was literally sitting there with my palms sweating, my face beat red. I was like, I was terrified. And now here I am speaking in front of groups of up to 300 people.
Wow.
And what I did was, man, you kind of just have to, like, I guess, go for it. So and I'll tell anybody this, man. Listen, I don't claim to be the best presenter, educator, speaker. I make plenty of mistakes. But my goal compared to a lot of others is if I help one person or they pick up one thing from me, I did my job.
Yeah.
If I go to a class and teach it and somebody walks out of there going, man, I picked up one thing he said and I'll remember that forever. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And I'm very real when I teach. And unfortunately, that's bit me in the ass a few times. I've had senior instructors come and say, hey, listen, man, you really can't say that. I'm like, oh, so I can't tell somebody that there's a time that one of them may not make it home safe? I would say that in classes. Well, you don't want to scare them. I'm like, well, it's not scaring them. It's setting them up for reality.
Yeah.
You're operating in unsafe environments every day, and they need to be aware of what can happen to them.
Yeah.
But for sure though, it was cool though to do some of the conferences I did. So when I went down to Boston for the collegiate conference you mentioned in the intro, I took my son with me. We made a little weekend trip out of it. It was really cool. And remind you, I wasn't being compensated for this. This was like a little vacation and a chance to branch out.
Yeah.
We got my national speaker status, right? So I get down there, and it was cool to have him in the class with me. He was, sitting there watching the presentation, and I had a room of about 60 people, all different age groups, from 18 to 50s and above. And this was the first time I did my leadership lessons learned from the street class, and it's a custom class I developed.
Okay.
Simple, basic leadership rules, tactics, and ways to be. And I did this class, and after the class was done, it's about a 2-hour lecture. A bunch of people came up to me, and I told them, you can come up and, if you have any questions, you want to talk. And I couldn't believe the feedback I got. And listen, man, I'll tell you, I'm not about me at all, but it felt good to know, okay, this message was received and this is good. People were saying, yo, man, can I get your contact info? Would you travel to my department? I had one lady that was like some college director for some college, and says, hey, could I match with you on LinkedIn? Could we meet up and maybe talk? I'd like to talk some things. I'm like, sure. And she hit me up like that night. Like, I can't tell you how good this class was again. I'd love to have you come out again next year. I mean, so that was a cool thing to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you just get out there, you branch out a little bit, and believe me, man, listen, I'm not trying to be some big name instructor out there, educator. I like to do it. I like to teach. I like to help the next generation. That's truly my goal. I've done a lot of things on my own time, and that's part of being in public safety. You sometimes have to do things in your own time to better yourself. I gained a lot of instructorships. I just went out and just kept getting them. From like 2005, I started teaching CPR, and then went from one thing to the next, and just gained my level of instructor. And I had some years in, and I just kept getting instructorships. And we went out and taught various classes. And I will say it's good and bad. The one regret I have is I do regret not taking one discipline and sticking with one or two disciplines and saying, I'm going to be an expert at this, or an expert's a bad, I don't like that word. I'm going to be so proficient at this that I know the information in and out. So I always say, I know about a lot, and I can teach a little bit about a lot, but I'm not really an expert at anything in particular.
Well, see, that's kind of like early on in my career, I was the same way. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to be fluent in everything. I wanted to speak all the languages.
Yep.
That way I was more valuable because my end goal was always getting on the job.
Sure.
And now mindset being, I can now sit in an interview, and whether the chief asks me a question about firematics, hydraulics, extrication, water rescue, EMS, hazmat, I would be able to answer that question, or at least say, oh, I forget at the moment. However, I know I can find that here, or I can reference this guide and look that up, or whatever.
I agree.
I could have that conversation. So I kind of just kept expanding out in those areas because I wanted more information on that topic, more information on this topic. And like you said, you know, I'm not a master of any one thing, but I get you where you need to go.
So, or, you know, the resources that, like you just said, you can get to. So that's a good tip with training education. And this is for teaching people or doing any kind of drill training, whatever you want to do. Know what you know what you don't know. And it is okay to say, I have no experience with that. I've never done that, but I'm going to find who can. This is my strong point, my weak point. It's totally okay to, hey, can you do this lecture? Listen, I'm not strong at that. That's not my thing. I can educate myself on it to better myself, but I'm just not comfortable giving that. But this one I'm good at, and I know it in and out.
Exactly.
You know, you gotta be real with yourself.
And having that knowledge of each specific topic, now I can point you in the direction of the guy. I can point you in the direction of that guy, or I can pick up the phone and say, hey, this is what I'm looking at right now. How big of an issue do I have?
Right.
You know, I've built, because at that point you're expanding out so much, you can't just stay in your own little bubble. You got to get out of your bubble, and you're meeting people from, you know, North Jersey, South Jersey, Pennsylvania, Western PA.
Connections you make
all over the place.
I made so many friends and so many connections. And you know what's funny, man? You know, when you go out and do these conferences and all, and you meet people, and you know, you network with them, you learn where they're from, learn about their departments, and you hear the same issues we're talking about. But also, you know, you just meet good people, and you take something from everybody that you've met. You take something home with you, or they hopefully vice versa. Hopefully they take something home that they learned from you, and you eventually connect again, and maybe it turns into a business venture, or a joint conference, or a joint lecture,
even just a friendship.
Right? You know, why not? But, you know, doing these conferences, and you do meet a lot of people, you learn a lot, you see a lot. And listen, man, when I do this, like, I'm not a big, I don't post a lot on social media. You know, I'm kind of like more of a scroller, right? But when I do teach sometimes, a lot of times I will put up a post. And listen, man, it's not for me. It's hopefully able to encourage someone else to go out and do it. Because I've had people say, yo, man, you lecture all over. And I'm like, I really don't. I don't go all over. Yeah, I'm a pretty local guy. But how do you do it? I'm like, listen, pick a topic or develop a PowerPoint, or, you know, start here, go into a squad or a fire department and say, hey, man, listen, I got this class I did. I'd like to present it. You got a drill that I could come in and do it. And maybe it goes somewhere. You got to just try it. And you got to, you know, adapt and overcome and learn from it. And you know, 100%. Not everything's going to be a home run, but you got to try. And that's what I just went out there and listen, I've been shot down. I've done conferences one year, and the next year put in for 2 or 3 classes, didn't get one, and they don't even tell you why. Some of them send rejection notices, and you're like, okay, whatever. But makes you wonder, like, what could I have done to better myself? I wish they would tell you, hey, that this year that just wasn't what we were looking for in our criteria. The class looks good, but we just weren't looking for that type of training this year. Okay, at least you know. But a lot of them don't do that.
No, you're right. You're 100% right.
But it's a process, man. It's a lot of work, man, to doing the references and the development of the courses and applying for the conferences. Like, I've never done like an FDIC or anything like that. Maybe down the road one day, who knows? I don't know. But I've kept it pretty local for the most part. But I have a lot of friends that do go out there and you know, do their educating, and that's awesome. You know, I give them a lot of credit for doing that. You know, there's a lot of good people and a lot of good things to offer in this profession all around.
Absolutely.
I know some of the best educators that'll, you know, top to bottom, know their stuff in and out, and are great presenters. And that's on the fire, EMS, and law enforcement end.
Yeah. So the Technical Institute, the Gloucester County, is that like vocational school, or is that
So it's a
community
vocational
college,
school
or
considered a special services school district.
okay,
So they have an adult education program.
okay,
How that started was, Chief Rick Harris, he's retired at Cherry Hill, great, phenomenal guy, good friend. He was the fire science coordinator for the daytime, firefighter one, for the kids that were in high school
yeah,
and
yeah,
transitioning. So he ran that program. Well, they approached him and said, "Hey, we want to do this. We want to run fire inspector. We think it would be good and expand our, they're always looking to expand and
yeah,
whatnot." So he goes, "Well, listen, man, I've been out of the game a little bit with the inspections, but I know people. I guess I could." And they basically gave him the blessing that go bring in who you want. We'll bring them on as instructors, as adult education educator, I think it
yeah,
was, and we'll get the class rolling. So he reached out to me and like three other guys and said, "Yo, would you just want to do this? This is how the program will run. I'm the coordinator because my name has to be on the on the program, but you guys are doing all the teaching." So I had a pretty good amount of experience doing inspections and whatnot, and was doing it for a long time. And I
yeah,
said, "It's different. That's cool." So as time went on, he was getting ready to retire. So the gentleman before me, who was actually a retired battalion out of Deptford, Chief Burkhart, he took over the program for about
okay,
2 years. And then he approached me and said, "Yo, dude, I just got a lot going on with, the academy and doing other stuff. Would you be interested in taking over?" He goes, "I'll still teach, but I just don't want to do all the paperwork anymore." And I'm like, "Well, what's it entail?" And it's really not that bad. I mean, I got to do the payroll for the instructors. I got to do the sign-ins and the, track with the
yeah,
GCID and all the grading. So it's not terrible. I mean, it's really not that bad. And also you got to be in contact with the state and do all that good stuff with the Division of Fire Safety. So it was kind of thrown in my lap, and I kind of learned as I went. And I can honestly say we've had a pretty good program the last couple of years. I've been doing it since 2017, and every year we've had anywhere from 9 to 15 students average. So
okay,
the pass rate's pretty high. If we've had a student fail, it's usually due to timing or something like that, and they usually pass it on the second attempt.
okay,
I had a really good group and diverse group of students. Believe it or not, it's crazy how something pans out when you spread it out through like social media and online. We had
yeah,
guys from Atlantic City Fire Department. I had private guys from the Borgata Casino and Tropicana. I had guys from private door companies and construction companies,
yeah, yeah,
fire departments. It was really interesting to see where the students come from. And so that ran for a little bit. So about 2 years ago, I approached them and said, "Hey, what do you guys think about running fire official?" I had my instructors and I had them come in, do the trainer, and they were like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we did that 2 years in a row, and that was pretty good as well, pretty good pass rate and whatnot. So then here's where the loophole comes in. So Division of Fire Safety this year, I find out 2 weeks before the class is supposed to start that all inspector classes are on hold until further notice due to an update, which we knew the update was coming, the new
yeah,
code.
yeah,
So the problem was, I'm in this meeting. It was a training meeting with and I went, "Hold on." I said, "I have an email from you saying that it's okay to run this course." And the guy goes, "Not anymore." I'm like, "I need a minute of your time. See me after the meeting."
because I have a class starting next week.
Yeah. So literally, he says, "Listen, man, here's the deal. The director of the division came in and said, no inspector classes." I said, "All right, here's why." And they want to wait for the new updates. And I said, "All right, well, listen." I said, "The problem is I'm not a fire academy." I said, "I now have to go to GCIT, and they have to now issue refunds to everybody who paid. It hurts them. It hurts me."
Yep.
And they said, "There's nothing we can do." I'm like, "Wonderful." So I had a full class of about 14 students, and I turned them all away. So now when I find out the next meeting I went to a few months ago, they're changing all the requirements for inspector and official. You have to have 3 years in the fire service as a firefighter before you can take inspector, and
Okay.
then an additional 2 years to get official. Now, I understand the reason behind it, because too many people were going back to back with no experience and becoming fire officials.
Yep.
Totally respect that. I get that. I do. But at the same time, they really threw a loophole for a lot of departments that require inspector to be hired. Now they have to change some of their hiring
Mhm.
requirements or extend the time frame that they can get the certification.
Yeah.
Now they tell me you have to have 3 years in the fire service. And I said, well, my class, I've had private people come in and be inspectors to try to get jobs, whether it's, private, whatever, wherever they get a job.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I go, I don't know how can you do that? How can you say that this certification, can't be done by example, someone at the casino? You have these guys that are fire safety inspectors, but they're going to get an inspector cert to better themselves for the job.
Yeah.
They go, no. I'm like, I kind of don't agree with that. I think we got to talk about that at a further date. But this is some of the changes that are coming. And it makes you wonder, like, what's the reason for your change as far as the 3-year experience getting your inspector? Why can't a private person take it? Why can't, someone that's in the private industry that wants to get their inspector certification? It's a certification.
Yeah.
The difference. They're going to test like anybody else. They're going to maintain it like everybody else. There's no difference. So there's some changes coming down the road from the division with the inspector class. My goal is to run a class, hopefully in September, coming up in 2025, because that's when they start usually. Hopefully the new material will be out in the next couple of months. There's a lot of new books, a lot of new material. They have to revamp all the PowerPoints. So I actually sit on the committee for this, and we're trying to make some progress to do the right thing and get some good education out there. But it's tedious. It's a tedious task. You have to redo all the quiz questions, the test questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Whole lot of work. But overall, the program pretty much runs itself. It's a good time. The instructors seem to like it. It keeps you fresh in your skills, and you can really get into the meat and potatoes of the book, which is what they really have to know for the testing process. So I have a pretty good month. I've gotten good feedback. And the couple of things that were negative, we were hoping to fix. If we could have done something better or been in a certain book more or something like that, we made those changes.
I'm sorry. I was just reading good information. I just renewed my inspector, trying to find a gig, but everyone wants experience like EMS. I agree. Yeah.
It's a challenge, bro. I don't know what to tell you with that. I mean, just see if they'll work with you. I mean, tell them you really want the job and you're going to do what you can to gain the experience. How do you get not doing it?
And that's like investigations. I could take the 80-hour the New Jersey chapter IAAI class and call my send my certificate and my $90 into the state and call myself a fire investigator. Meanwhile, I've never seen a burned building or fire official up until the early 2000s.
Yeah,
you call yourself a fire marshal and not have any training in fire investigations.
So I don't know your opinion on this, but I think sometimes the Division of Fire Safety and OEMS, I think sometimes when they sit at a table and make like the policies and the rules they're making, I would love to be in there sometimes just to kind of say, like, what's your rationale behind that? Like, who sits at the table and says that's a good idea? So it's the point now in Firefighter 1 and an EMT course teaching, right?
Yeah.
You're more focused on check boxes than you are reality and teaching. And the critical fails that come out of some of these JPRs from the National Registry, from Division of Fire Safety. Listen, if you're in EMT class and I run you through a scenario, you actually have to have an instructor to check the boxes so another instructor can actually view them and what the student's doing and completing the task. If you run through a scenario from A to Z and you did excellent, but you forgot one minor thing, that page says it's a critical fail. Yep. When I couldn't go, hey, man, I want you to start here. What'd you forget? And then you think, got it. And then you tell me what the right answer is. Is that doable? Absolutely. You didn't bomb the entire scenario. You forgot one thing. But guess what? You're in Firefighter 1 and you go to carry a portable ladder and you didn't say 1, 2, 3 lift. That's a critical fail.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? Let's get this ladder to where it's got to be. End of story, in the most safest, efficient way.
Yep.
I don't know if you know, I'll give a shout out to my man, Bobby Eckert, man. He's on point with everything and everything he does. He's a good friend. He's called them out so many times. They have a picture in the Fire 1 book of a type 3 building, but it's actually a type 2. I believe it is. It says it's ordinary, but it's actually a limited combustible. And he said to them, You're teaching the 100% wrong information. This picture is 100% false. Yeah, well, that's just the way it's going to be. And you wonder why people are getting hurt or not understanding building construction? Who's setting up these books? Who's reviewing them? Who's planning all this and putting it together? And he's right on point with that. And that's something so simple. How do you say, nah, we're just not going to worry. We'll ignore that. It's not good.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
Yeah. I hear you. I agree 100%.
But, it's a challenge to deal with them sometimes with both organizations. And, I'm just being realistic. I keep a good relationship and I, respect them. But sometimes you're in meetings with them, you ask questions because they are supposed to be the people you go to with questions. That's their job. And then they get upset when you ask a question or they give you an arrogant answer. And I'm like, well, where do I find that in writing? Well, we'll get it to you. Okay. Still hasn't shown up yet. You just question like, how do you want this done? Well, we'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you expect this to be done? Or what can I do here? We'll work with you on this, but not on that. It's always something different. It's a challenge.
It is.
But you got to overcome it and maintain those relationships. And,
and see, that's the flaws of the system. Well, that's the business part of it, if you will, of the job is you got to get along to go along to get along. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not a go along type of guy.
So it's funny you say that because, you speak up. Most people don't like people who speak up.
No,
I always say, I speak up. I am not a smoother. I'm not an ass kisser. I will respect you. I'll respect you as a person, rank, authority. Even if in my head I'm like, I don't really like the way this is going, I will respect you. But I expect the same in return. Because there's things I may say that you don't like, and that's fine. But you have to speak up. And what's the old saying? If you got enemies, that's good. You spoke up for something in your life. That's true. Listen,
stood up for something.
I try to go on with everybody. I do. I try to be the most easygoing dude. Do I have haters out there? I'm sure. Do I have people right now that are probably like, oh, who's this guy and what's he doing? You know what? I can give a shit less. It's trying to make things better for one person or two, whatever it may be, two people. I don't care because guess what? I'm here trying to make it better and you're not because it's easier to bash and show support. And that's the problem in public safety too. What's the easiest thing to do? Instead of saying, I'm going to help this person. Oh, they're they're stupid. They don't know what they're doing.
Whitewash them.
Were they taught? And listen, you're going to get people that just don't get it. I understand that. But were they shown the proper way? Can you put in a way they understand it?
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to bash and show support.
Yep.
It really is. And it's like, hey, let's help this person out. They're struggling here. We got to get them to a certain level.
100%.
And you know what? You got to have each other's backs. And that's at all times, especially on the street. I'm a huge advocate of that. If you're not, there for the right reason, you should never have a doubt that this person don't have my back. Even if I'm not a fan of you or vice versa, when we're on a call on the street, I got your back. You're not going to get hurt under my watch. I'm not going nowhere to write you up. That's not how it works, man. I'm kind of old school. It does not work. And now everything's an email and oh, you got to put this in writing. No, I'm really not doing that. I'll talk to you man to man or person to person.
See, you're a collective bargaining leader.
Yeah,
you'll appreciate this from me. I tell young guys, I tell everybody, if you have a question for management, don't ask them. Don't go over there and ask them face to face. Put it in the email.
Yeah.
And blind carbon copy your personal email.
Yep.
That way, and carbon copy or blind carbon copy the union. That way, in 6 months, when you've asked 5 times face to face, they can't go, oh, we'll put that in an email. No, like I've been asking you for 6 months in emails. Here it is. What are we doing with this?
Yeah. So
create the paper trail. Be on the good side of the paper trail for once.
Yeah. If you only saw the spreadsheets I have and the notes in my phone with date times, of every meeting and everything you did, you'd be looking at it for 3 days. It's crazy how much information you have to retain. But why does management in most departments, police, fire, EMS, I love how they absolutely despise the union. It cracks me up that You'll have some departments, we're never going to go union. It'll never happen. Okay, why not? Because you don't have all the say. The goal is to work together. It cracks me up, man. Like so many fire departments and fire chiefs, and you forget where you come from, whatever it may be. They hate those 4 letters, IAFF. They despise them. You know, I got my whole little sticker board right behind me here. They hate those 4 letters. But why? You don't have to. We're human beings like anybody else. We'll talk. We solve problems together. But you want to put in your head that they are the devils. They are going to take us for everything we got. They're going to make problems. No, we're looking out for the safety of our members. We're looking out for the greater good. We're looking out so they have a healthy and a successful career and get good benefits and pay and wages and everything in between.
Yeah.
I see. Oh, you can't even mention bringing a union here. I'll fire you. Well, first of all, you can't do that. So I'd like to see you try. Because I've seen that in departments over the years. You know, oh, we want to bring a union in, but they're told you can't. You're not allowed. Well, they can't do that. That's number one. That's intimidating. But some departments that go, if you go for a union, you know, it could be worse than what it is now. Okay, well, take that risk. I'm telling you.
Well, that's called union busting. Thank you for sharing.
Right. And listen, man, you got to go in there with an open mind. And is there fights you're going to have? Yeah, you're going to have fights. You're going to have a lot of them. But at the end of the day, the goal is to work together for the greater and the common goal. Yeah. And it's the end user. It's the person on the street. I mean, it's also the members, but it's the person on the street that they're sworn to protect. That's what it's about. But I can tell you some union stories that would probably make your head spin at some fights I've been in over the years. And it's like, man, you just say to yourself, you know, why would you do that? Like, you know the rules. You're supposed to be an educated business administrator. Yep. And you just did something that was totally illegal, unethical, and you're okay with it.
I have one of the best chiefs I ever worked for. He would actually he would fill out the grievance, the health and safety grievance.
Yeah.
That's how, and I'm going back to the early 90s before my time. But, you know, this is how he got his guys Nomex uniforms. They're, you know, fire rated uniform, station wear. This is how he got the government to buy his guys steel toe footwear for the station wear. This is, you know, he would fill out the grievance with exactly what it needed to say, call the union president and slide it across the table and go, here, sign that and hand it back to me. And then as soon as it got signed by a union rep and handed back to him, hey, look, I got to deal with this. And then the powers that be above him had to come up with it, had to come up with the money for it. He replaced apparatus that way. He replaced, you know.
And listen, man, on the union end, and the management end, you're both going to have wins and losses.
Yeah.
You're going to, and you got to own them.
But you got to work together. Like,
100%. So let me tell you the story. A couple years back, probably more than a couple now, but we had a member in one of our shops, and all the names and the faces have been changed to protect the innocent. No name mentioned, but I get called by this member and says, "Hey, I have a meeting tomorrow at the hall at the borough. Can you come down? And I want to rep there. I don't know what it's about. I got a feeling it's not good. Yeah, I'll be there. No problem." So I go down. I sit in this office, and it's the member, myself, the business administrator, a chief officer, and an attorney. And the business administrator goes, "So we're going to, we've had some issues over the past, the time you've been here, and we've decided to terminate your employment." That was it. So I go, okay. I said, well, first they started with, "Who are you?" and whatnot. And I explained who I was, the union rep. And they said, I said, "Man, what are the charges?" "That's not your concern."
"It is my concern."
"Excuse me?" I said, "No, it is my concern." I said, "You've given this member no paperwork, no notice of anything other than a phone call of, 'Can you be here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning?' I said, 'I'd like to see some documentation.'" "Yeah. No, that's not your concern." I said, "Okay." I said, "Ma'am, listen, we're going to stop this meeting right here." I said, "I am going to be on the phone right now with our union attorney, and he will be contacting you." Yeah. She said, "No problem. Would you mind providing his name?" I said, "Absolutely. His name is this." And we'll leave it at that. So this is like, I might add to Merry Christmas. It's about 2 days before Christmas when this is going on. Yep. So I got right on the phone in the hallway. I called the attorney. His secretary answered. I said, listen, I know it's probably crunch time. I need to speak with him immediately. Like today, this cannot wait. I have to speak. She give me 2 minutes. Hold on. He gets on the phone. Hey, what's going on? What do you guys said? I said to him the story I just told you. He says, now give me the name and phone number. I'll get it. So he called them and said, listen, this is who I am for representing the local. I'm going to be sending you an email. He goes, effective today, this member is on, suspension with pay. And the borough agreed to that. They're like, we're not just, no, we're doing this the right way. And here we ended up following up with a meeting. They gave him all the paperwork and we went back and forth for a few months, because nothing happens overnight. So finally we go into this hearing. And this was an all-day event from 8 a.m. till 4:45 p.m. at the lawyer's office. And it's the member, myself, the union president, the lawyer, their lawyer, the borough administrator, and a mediator from the state. And they come in with an offer. And they were like, yeah, we're just going to pay the member off to leave. I'm like, man, but you complain about money? You don't think that's a waste of taxpayer money just to say we're getting rid of somebody? Like you must be doing pretty good down there, right? So they come in with a low number. And our lawyer was like, no, not happening. Go back to the drawing board. No way. So we're going back and forth for about 2 hours. So we finally come up with a very, very hefty number and a good way to end this relationship. And the only thing the borough asked for was, hey, listen, could we give you half the money now and half of it in 4 months? Would you work with us that way? And we said, look, fair is fair. We'll do that, since we came to such a good agreement and whatnot. And this member ended up actually being better off after everything went down. And there was a lot more to the story that I left out.
Oh, I'm sure.
The point of it is, though, it didn't have to get to that or go that way. And the way to treat the union rep like shit,
yeah,
I lost so much respect for that town. Like, this is how you're going to treat the union, and this is how you're going to treat your people. I'm like, yeah, you just have a good reputation. I mean, you see where this is going. You're just going to pay people off if you don't like them. You're just going to pay them off to leave. That's how it works. And I'm sure that's not the only town that does it, but nobody's got money, but they got money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They got money.
We got money at the end of the day.
So, that's just one of our many, luckily that was a win for us and that person. We've had arbitration agreements we lost. It is what it is.
Of course.
You go do something else. But it's not always about winning, man. It's about sticking up for the right thing and doing
the right thing.
Doing
the right thing. Absolutely. You want to hit some of these pictures, or? Yeah,
man, go for it. All right, so that's my man Frank. So Frank and I go way back. This was a wreck we had. We run mutual aid together on Highway 42.
Okay.
So we had just rescued a lady out of a car. You can actually see the car in the background there. It was an extrication, and we got her out, and we were talking after. I said, yo, man, we need a buddy pick. We haven't had a buddy pick in forever. So we take this one and we're joking about it. So I go to do a class at his station a few weeks back, and they got this picture hanging on the wall. I said, oh, I feel honored. I'm on your wall and whatnot. But he's a good guy.
It's the dartboard.
He's a good captain. He's a good friend, good family guy. We talk all the time, and it's so funny because I hit him up a couple weeks ago, and I said, yo, bro, let me ask you a question. He goes, what's up? I said, do you ever second guess yourself or your leadership ability? He says, oh, only like 2 or 3 times a day. I said, okay, so it's not just me. So we can have those talks, right? And we all got, like, our departments are very similar, so we have the same issues. So he's a good dude, man. And then when I was going to go, when I put my social media up to start my podcast, which I can tell you about at the end or whatever. He hits me up right away. He goes, yo, bro, he's like, go for it. It's bold move. I said, you know what, man? It's a lot of work, but I want to try. It's just for fun, and he said, man, bold move, man. Like, a lot of guys say they're going to do something, just go do it. And I said, yeah, I'd like to. And, some unfortunately, I had to put that to the back burner just for some different reasons with work, getting overwhelmed. Things. I had to kind of prioritize things. So, that's my man, Frank, though, man. He's a good dude and a good friend.
Absolutely. Just don't run your podcast 7:30 on Thursday nights.
No,
I got a problem with that.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not going to have like the.
I don't care.
I'm not gonna, I can't.
You're going to listen. People are going to listen, or they're not going to listen. I don't care.
Yeah,
I
you
do
got
it
to
for
keep
me.
things going, bro. You're doing good, man. I like watching
Thank
your
you.
stuff, and you keep it real and keep it simple. And you
Thank
got
you.
some really, really respectable guys and girls on this podcast, and I'm honored to be here tonight because, some of the
Honored to
people
have you.
are awesome. Yeah, it's
Thank you. Thank you. We got this one, eating ice cream.
Yeah, so I put this post up, right? So unfortunately, the one guy's on the other shift now, and that the rest of it's my current crew. But we went for ice cream over the summer, and I put a post up, and got a lot of interaction on it. I said, keep the kids happy, take them for ice cream.
Yeah,
I bought them all ice cream, but you know what, though, man, Nick, it's little things like that. It's little things that go such a long way.
exactly.
It's bonding. And you know what, man? It was a hot day. We went and got ice cream, and we sit there and joke a minute, eat our ice cream, and it goes a long way.
And you got out at 1:30 in the afternoon. You got home and got in the pool.
Yeah, I went to the gym and worked it off. That's kind of my routine every day. But so with the crew though, I'll do things for them because I always tell them, if the administration higher ups, and I'm not stereotyping or anyone in particular, but in general, any administration, if they don't care about you or they don't look like they care about you, I do. And I will always go to bat for you because that's what I want to do. That's my job. That's my responsibility. So maybe a month or two ago, it was one of them weeks where we had pump testing, ladder testing. So all week we were out the door at 7 a.m. till almost the end of our shift, back and forth, truck swapping, blah, 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 air pack testing. So the last day of the week, I brought them all a $10 Dunkin' gift card. I said, guys, I know it was a long week back and forth, just because showing you that, we all go to Dunkin', you all like your coffee or whatever, it's on me. I took them out to a crew dinner last week for a holiday, something I try to do every year. Because I always said when I become a leader, these are the things that were in my head that I wanted to do. And it was just me. I wanted to do it. I buy them dinner. It's a gift from me. I want to show how much, and I give a little speech, and I'm like, hey guys, listen,
I'm buying your dinner. You got to listen.
You guys are awesome. You guys are hard hitters. The people, in town can sleep better knowing that you're on duty and all kinds of stuff. And I always say, we're a team. I'm not in front of you. I am right next to you. Just because I'm wearing the bars, I don't forget where I come from. There's times that I do have to be the boss, but for the most part, I don't have to because the crew runs itself. I always say, man, it's like a train, right? What's the conductor's job? The train runs itself. But if it starts getting off track, my job is just put it back on track.
Yeah.
The train really drives itself. And I got
pull the whistle.
Group of guys, and they do anything that's asked of them, and they go above and beyond for me. So I try to tell them, you're the workers. I step back, let you guys do the work, and I just oversee your safety because that's what I have to do. And, I got a good group, though. I mean, all of our guys are good. Listen, we're like a good family. We have our bickers and our back and forth. And
of course.
Things, but we all got each other's back. We're there in a heartbeat. And they're all good guys. Some of the younger guys, they get their chops broken a lot because it's a different generation.
Well, the generational gap, I'll ask you this, if you think this, because you came on around the same time I did. So now there was that big gap in the early 2000s of hiring, right?
Yeah.
So now you go back in time. Everybody always says, oh, this generation's soft. This generation is soft. This generation is soft. So now you think about, all right, that's your generational gap, right? Between whether it was the boomers, whether it was Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, there's a gap between the generations. So now you had that large gap in hiring. So now you're actually looking at 2 generations behind you.
Yeah.
Which is why they can't communicate.
Yeah.
And you and I, our age range is in the middle of the lucky few that got on the job.
Yeah.
Between the retirement, the guys that didn't want to leave because they loved the job so much and they stayed around for 35 years. And then, layoffs and everything else that we went through that made it so all the hazards that we went through trying to get onto the job.
So,
and now you got the new generation dealing with, like, that's the problem in the fire service, is there's such a big gap from not consistently hiring and staying up on the times.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about the future. I always say you have to always be planning. So, you know, my captain, my co-captain that I work with, Captain Bender, he always says, this is their department. And he's right. We're almost done. This is their department. We are trying to set you up for a good career and a good, you know, have good success in the department. But I'll tell you a funny generational story real quick. If you can, pop that picture of the ice cream back up. So my man to the left behind me, man, that's my man Clinton, right? So he asked me about watching this tonight and when the podcast will be out and all. So one day we're getting ready to leave the shift, and he says, you know, a car pulls up on the apron. I'm like, oh, who's this? Oh, that's my Uber. I'm like, your Uber? Yeah, my car broke down. That's how I'm getting home. I said, yo, bro, let me tell you how it works. You come to one of the guys and say, yo, somebody give me a ride home. I got a flat tire. That's just how it works. You don't like that. To me was like, what, an Uber? I was like, you're kidding me. Well, Uber. I'm like,
dude, I would have gave you a ride home.
Yeah. So then another time he orders out, and he'll never make this mistake again. Mark my words. He orders out from Grubhub. I don't even use any of them. So I don't. Uber Eats, one of them. And he walks in with a big bag of food. So all the guys are looking at him, and he's starting to take his food out. And I'm like, senior guy Bob, did you want anything? No, I'm good. I was like, did you want anything? Did you want anything? He never made that mistake again. Bro, let me tell you something.
I wasn't hungry.
I don't care if the guy's got a feast in front of him. You say, yo, guys, I'm ordering from here. Does anybody want anything? Whether it's a no every time or not. I said,
dude, lunchtime naps, I'll go knock on somebody's door just to, hey, right. I'm ordering Chinese for lunch.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sleep. All right. I don't want to hear you an hour when you come out and see that we had Chinese.
But listen, man, that's the funny stuff you live and learn, right? I mean, that's
absolutely
guys, man, they're aggressive. They actually a couple of them caught a job on Christmas Eve. They did a hell of a job being short-staffed. Our company was already off duty, so it was just them. They were a 4-man company. So they did real good, but they're catching a little bit of work on the other side of town, a little bit more than my crew right now. We did a few mutual aid jobs, but it was pretty much overhauled by the time we got there. But you know, the guys on the other side of town, they've caught 2 or 3 jobs in the past 2 months or so. So they're doing all right on that side of town, which is good. So
now, Deptford, who do you guys running with?
So we run mutual aid with Washington Township, Woodbury, Gloucester Township, Winona and Woodbury Heights. So they're boroughs that are right next to us. Really, wherever we're called. Our mutual aid did go down a little bit over time for some various reasons, but you know, it's a challenge like everywhere else, man. You know, you got to all work together, and you know, there's some nowadays you never know where you're going to go. You don't know where your company's going to end up, and vice versa. Who's coming to you? Because there's fires in town, and I look down the street and I see a truck. I'm like, how the heck did that company get here? Just because the way it fell, they didn't have a cover company, or they didn't have a RIC company how to bring them in. I'm like, hey, whatever. So I always say, man, I won't sell ourselves to other people. I always offer, we are here. We're going to show up in full force, and we're going to do a good job. We're here to assist you. And my guys know that too. I'll never be like, oh, you got to get us on this box. No, I'm not going to throw myself at a call. I will always say, we are here to help. Whenever you want, call us. And vice versa. I call you. You got to build those relationships. You really do.
Yeah,
so we do,
absolutely.
We run into, Westville here and there. So there's towns around. A little bit in Brooklawn. We run a small town in Camden County. Our ladder truck, one ladder goes to. So a little bit around the whole area in our circle for the most part.
Okay. All right. And then I got this picture here.
Yeah. So that was Disney World over the summer. So that's the fam, right? So there's me, and there's my lovely girlfriend Alicia. She's a big supporter of mine and everything I do, and I appreciate that, even though I probably don't show it like I should. That's Ember. She's the teenager, teenage girl phase. But she's a good kid, very, very smart, very respectful. And then that's my son Adam over there next to me. He's not a picture kid, as you can tell.
I was going to say, he looks very enthused.
No, he's happy he's in Disney, but he's like, I don't want to do another picture. But now he's a kid, man. I mean, he's 17 now, and he's at work right now, and he goes to school and he works. And that was our family trip to Disney this year. But awesome. Yeah, and listen, man, we have our ups and downs like any other family, and our struggles we go through. But again, it's about how you adapt and overcome. We talk all the time, and I know we have haters, and I say, listen, let them hate. and let them keep hating because
Yep.
we're having fun. And I don't know if it's like a jealousy thing or whatnot, but like, listen, man, like we're just average people.
Yeah.
You know, we go out to nice dinners, we go out and have fun, we hang in house and watch TV. We just, you know, we take trips when we can.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have a good time.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree.
Sure.
I hear you. All right. So you got anything else, or you want to get into the Jersey questions?
Let me think. I took some notes, like I told you. I'm just trying to make sure we
All right.
hit on everything, man. Because, like I said, we could go on all night with a lot of different stuff.
Absolutely.
Nah, man. I think we hit most of it. Yeah, maybe down the road I can come back for a future
Yeah,
episode.
definitely.
And, you know, go from
Definitely.
there.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll get into the Jersey questions.
All right.
Is it number one? Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
It's pork roll all day.
Absolutely.
Pork roll, egg and cheese. You don't say a Taylor ham, egg and cheese. You say a pork roll, egg and cheese. It's pork roll.
All right.
No questions asked.
All right. Next question. Who's got the best pizza?
Ooh. So I think that's a very subjective question because there is
only because you're from South Jersey.
There's a lot of good pizza places. If I had to pick, though, I think it's going to be a tie.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Max down in Wildwood.
Okay.
Pizza. And I know there's a debate with Max and Sam's who's better. I think I still like Max a little bit better. And Matco in Ocean City. I think that would be my tie.
Okay.
I just think they put out a really good pizza, and I always enjoy going down there and having lunch.
All right. Do you go to the beach or you go down the shore?
Usually down the shore.
All right. All right.
Pretty good spot here because where I'm at, I can be in Philly in about 12 minutes. I can be in Delaware in 25 minutes. You know, in down the shore, I can be down in Wildwood in an hour and 15, hour and 20. I can be in Ocean City with no traffic in about 50 minutes.
Yep.
I can be in Atlantic City in 45 minutes. And even some of the like northern Jersey shores, you know, LBI and whatnot, I can still be there in about an hour and 20. So where I'm at is a really good spot. But for the most part, we're usually Ocean City, Wildwood people.
Okay.
You know, Ocean City's probably number one over Wildwood, but you know, my son still likes to hit some of the rides in Wildwood, so we go there too to check them out and get their pizza. So we switch it up, go to both.
All right.
Both shores.
Well, that was the next question was beach of choice.
Yeah, probably Ocean City.
Definitely
Ocean City if I had to
go. So next question, and I feel like I'm not gonna like your answer to this one. Does Central Jersey really exist?
Central Jersey. California, beautiful place. Been out there before. That was my pun from Dumb and Dumber. But no, it's there. It's there. I have a lot of friends in Central Jersey through the EMS task force and some good people up there, but it's there. I mean,
all right. So where are you drawing your northern and southern line?
Oh man, I'm gonna say probably Middlesex.
Okay.
Would probably be like my northern and up to me.
Okay.
I always found it funny, to be honest with you, that Ocean County was part of South Jersey. Because they do consider Ocean County South Jersey, I believe.
Yeah.
And I always found that a little odd. I thought that would be more central. Like I thought after Burlington, it would go Ocean, and that's central, starting central, but it's not.
Well, you got to remember, there's a lot of, because of the angle of those two, how they sit. Yeah. There's a lot of Burlington County that's above, you know.
And dude, you know what's funny? When you come down like south, you know, to the shore towns and the Wildwood and North Wildwood and whatnot, I always laugh. Cumberland County in South Jersey, you got 3 departments down there that are busy as shit and catch a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot. And I don't want to say you never hear about them. We hear about them, but you never hear about them like you hear in North Jersey cities. Like Vineland, Millville, and Bridgeton. I got friends in all 3. And I'm telling you, like they catch a lot of stuff. A whole lot. And you just don't hear about it. Like you don't, because it's like they're just secluded in their little area of the county. And it's like, man, that's a large area. And they get so much stuff. I mean, between everything that they get.
You guys need to start a South Jersey buff group.
I think there is one. something like that. I'm not
Well,
sure.
I need an invite to
There's
that
something
group.
out there. There's so many groups now. I can't even keep up with them all. Facebook, on this app, I don't.
And they're all started by the same people.
Yeah, 2 and 3 of the same groups with a different name.
All right. So, were some of your biggest mentors?
Oh, too many to list. But if I had to name a few, I had a captain that I worked with for a long time, Captain Taylor, and he was a huge mentor to me when I got on. I got on the job at 23, and I was with him for my first probably 3 years with him, and he taught me a whole lot about the job and about life, really, and about the right thing about the job and how you should be doing things and why you should be doing them. He was a hard hitter. He was on the job since 85 and just really caught a lot of work and did a lot of things for the department. And, we break a lot of chops, the guys that break his chops and all that. But at the end of the day, man, he was a good officer and a good fireman. I mean, he was just phenomenal. He really knew his stuff, and he really put me in the right track of where I am today with just the job, the department, the history, and how everything works and how it should work. So he's definitely one. I have a lot of the guys from Camden that I look up to as mentors, whether they know it or not. I work in Camden EMS, so I've been there 18 years, and I've seen and met a lot of good friends from there. Some of them have long since retired, but they were still a mentor to me. So I've always been the type, when I'm on a fire, even working the bus, that I'm observing. I'm always looking, picking up tips. I like how this chief did this. I listen to what he said on the radio. I like that terminology, and I always them. But you've had some of them on there. Brian Emmernecker, phenomenal guy. I mean, just an ace at everything he does. A phenomenal human being. Frankie Sy, he does a lot of like fire photos now in his retirement. But he was always a great guy to talk to and watch. Gabe Benjami. Gabe is one of the
trying to get him on.
I'm sure, can't speak for him, but I guarantee you he would be a phenomenal guest. And
we're looking maybe later.
He's an ace, man. He really is. I mean, I've gone to him for advice, shot him a text, stopped at the station, and he's like, hey, here's how I would do this. Very calm demeanor, just a great guy all around. A lot of good people though. Chris Santone out of Mount Laurel. He's a battalion in Mount Laurel. He always looked out for me. He knew me from a young age, coming through the fire service, and he was an instructor at the academy. We became friends, and he's always a great guy. And there's just a lot of good people out there. You mentioned earlier about Al Pratt. We were talking about him. Another one, an ace at what he does. I could listen to him speak for hours. I'm a big promotional fan, and he's just a very humble human being. Some of these guys, and the list could go on and on, Nick. I'm telling you, but that's just a small handful of some of the mentors that I kind of jotted down. I have a friend of mine who he's in upstate New York, but he comes and does a lot of teaching on leadership. And I don't know if you ever heard of John Politis.
I know the name.
So let me tell you, man, for his age and what he does all kinds of mountain rescue out of helicopters, an extensive background and all he does. But the funny thing about him is, when I first met him, he came down to Gloucester County to do a class for the supervisors on leadership. And I asked, it was open, but I said, can I sit in? And I'm only part-time EMT. Like, absolutely. So him and I went back and forth all weekend. And after we got done talking at the end of the day, the second day, he goes, yo, man, listen. He goes, I really enjoyed talking to you. I think you really have it. I can see your drive. And I said, John, I'm a little disappointed, though. I'm in here with a whole class of supervisors, and I'm the only one that talked all weekend about leadership, about questions. What would you do here? And he goes, that's why I said, I think you just have it, right?
Yeah.
So that was cool how we connected. So we become friends on social media, and we go back and forth. We talk. So then last year he came down to do a class in a nearby town, and I saw he advertised on his face. I said, hey, man, you want to grab dinner? He goes, absolutely. After the class, I'm staying 2 nights. We'll grab dinner. So I met up with him, and Alicia went with me. We had like a dinner. And first thing he says is, yeah, man. He goes, I said, how'd your class go today? And I know where he was. He goes, Con, they're struggling. I said, no shit. I know. I know the department. I know. Yeah. And this is he's just saying, like, look, man, I'll do whatever they want to do. But I could tell this is a guy coming from out of state. They're struggling. I'm like, yeah, they're hurting. A lot of departments are hurting, but we ignore the problem. And that's the problem, is ignoring the problem. But he's a great guy to talk to. So, he's another one, man. I look up to him because, he's done a lot in his career. And like I said, he's doing all kinds of mountain rescue and wilderness rescue stuff that I've never even done. Really cool to see some of his pictures where he goes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but he'd be a good guy to talk to one day.
Definitely. All right. Proudest achievement or accomplishment?
Oh, well, I'm going to say one was becoming a dad. I became a dad at 23, right around the time I got on. A little bit of an odd situation how I became a dad, but that's another story for another day. But still, probably the best thing that happened to me, and that was definitely an accomplishment. And we had some struggles through the years, being a single dad and working and having to pay all the bills and not having any support at the time, and it worked out though. It worked out, trying to be a good dad and raise a good kid. He's got his good days and bad days, but for the most part, he's a good boy. So I'm very proud of that. And I think another big accomplishment for me was finally the day I got promoted, because I wanted that for a long time. I knew at a very young age I had always wanted to be in the next role. And I think you do have to spend the time on the street. Like I started studying at a young age and just kind of I wanted to do it. And that day finally came. And again, it was not about me. I was happy. I was finally getting a chance to make a change.
Yeah.
Good, bad, and different. I was in a spot where now I have a little bit of say and can actually go that next level and try some things. Because the promotional process, I tell people this all the time, whether you get promoted or not, that process makes you a better firefighter.
Yeah.
I learned so much when I was on scenes, being in the back or driving. I'm thinking about size. I'm thinking about construction. I'm thinking about what would I do here. And it was, not taking anything away from the company officer, but I'm in my head going, what would I do? Why would this happen? And it got you thinking so much, better.
Yeah.
And that's huge, man. That's a big thing.
100%.
Better no matter what.
Absolutely. All right. So last question, and then I'll leave you alone, let you get back to your family. And what advice do you have for the fire service?
Oh, I would say be humble, keep training, keep reading. Even if you don't like reading, read something. It helps. And just be good people and be here for the right reasons. It's not about you. It's about the people out on the street that we protect. And don't be discriminatory. Don't judge them. We are there to help no matter what the problem is, no matter what the person's issues are, no matter what we think about them or what's going on. That's not for us to decide on. No matter what the call is. I don't care if there's fire blown on every window or it's a medical run. We are there to help people and solve their problem, or at least hopefully resolve some of their problem. I can't say solve everything, but we can resolve some of their problem. And just remember, I told you earlier, know what you know what you don't know. And at the end of the day, man, the show goes on without you, and the operation never stops. Because I think some people in the profession think I can't leave, I can't retire. No, you absolutely can. This service was here 100 years before you, will be here 100 years after. And you have to realize, when it's time, it's time. You have to know when it's time to call it quits and when it's time to give it to the next person. And just again, be humble, and it's going to go on without you. If you leave tomorrow or you retire, it's going to go on without you.
And think about it. If you're in a role and you're in a position where you think that they can't deal with it without you, well, then you should have trained them how to do it.
Yeah.
You should have taught them. You should have prepared them how to do it. Because especially in our line of work, you might not be here in 5 minutes.
So I do want to add one thing with the promotional process. The first time I tested it, what's that?
It sucks. Well, are you guys in Deptford? Are you guys civil service or?
We are.
Okay.
We are. And I like it because there is a process and you do learn a lot, and you have to do a testing process. So when I first went to test, I went to Hoboken. My first time in Hoboken, and it was Chief Rich Tremedity, and a buddy of mine from Gloucester City. He was a battalion, Joe Shilley, who's another very good friend. He recommended him as a test prep. And at the time, there was a couple guys out there, but he said, I go to him. He does one-on-one. So I go to Hoboken. And now I'm scared to death because when you get up that way, I'd never been up there like by myself. You have to get on like 2 or 3 different trains to get into Hoboken. I don't know if you're like familiar with that. So you have
I usually just drive.
Yeah, well, I did the second time I went, and it wasn't that. First time, you get off the train. I went to Hamilton, got on the train, got to, I forget what station it was.
Probably Sea Caucus.
It might have been. And you actually have to go into New York to get back to Hoboken.
Yeah, the path.
Yeah. So I was so nervous. I asked the lady in like a business, I said, ma'am, am I on the right train? I got to get to Hoboken. She goes, yep, get right on there. It's the next stop. I'm like, thank God. So I come out of the subway, and there's his building right there. And I was like terrified. I'm by myself. I got all my bag of books, right? So I go into his office, and his environment was so cool. And it was just a great experience. So I sit down with him, and he's got that North Jersey accent, that North Jersey talk. And he goes, all right. He goes, so you got a type 3 building, an ordinary construction, and you got fire venting on the Delta side, venting through the brick. What are your concerns? And I sat there for just a second. This is how it starts the whole conversation. And I'm thinking, all right, fire, it's venting through the brick. I said, I sat for a minute, imminent collapse. He goes, you got it. You're going to do great. I'm like, okay. He goes, let me give you another scenario. But that's how it started, the whole process. And I'll never forget that as long as I live. It was just a simple question, but I guess he just wanted to kind of see where I was at. So then he gives me a scenario because, you have so many minutes to respond and answer. He goes, okay. He goes, you like soup? I said, I love soup. And I was starving. He goes, I got a good place right next door downstairs. He goes, I'm going to go get us some soup. I'll be right back. Do this scenario. I'll be back in 10 minutes. He was giving me the 10 minutes to prepare the scenario. And then he comes back and we eat. And it was just a humbling experience. So later in life, I went to promotional prep for some different classes. And I did a one-on-one with Chief Montag from promotional prep. And he was another one, phenomenal human being. When I got promoted, I actually texted him, Al Pratt, and Chief Viscuso. Because they were big, helps in the process, and said, hey, look, I just want to let you know, thank you. I finally got made, and they were all like, great. So I go to Chief Montag's house, and, he does it out of his basement. And, we go in, and he gives me a scenario, and he goes, okay, look, here's what we're going to do. He goes, I usually start the camera up. He goes, you don't need the camera. He goes, you know how to communicate. Yeah. He goes, I'm just going to teach you how to answer better. I said, okay, that's fine. He goes, most guys want the camera on them. He goes, he just gave me one. He goes, you don't need that. He goes, you're fine with your posture and everything you're doing. He goes, I don't need to put you on camera. He goes, but we're going to work on answers. I said, that works. So it was just part of the promotional process that was really like, I'll never forget those days. Yeah. As long as I live, it was just an experience that I'll never forget.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Cool.
All right. So you mentioned you're starting your podcast up. Do you know?
Yeah. So
where about be with that or?
Yeah. So I Alicia kind of pushed me and said, I talked about it. And she said, you just got to do it. So I made a little logo and a design and I came up with a name and I put it on Instagram and TikTok. And I don't know much about that. And I got to say, I got to give a shout out. Number one to you. I reached out to you. I reached out to the World's Okayest Medic podcast. Mike Carancio, he's a medic that I know from Camden. And he's a flight medic, but he's worked the street where I've seen him. I reached out to him. Mike Nasty from Tip of the Spear Leadership. I've reached out to him for advice. So everybody's been helpful, and that's a huge help. But it's the social media and the podcast world, it's not easy. It's a lot of work, and I'm still figuring it out. So
and it's it's intimidating at the beginning. And again, I'm not an expert by any means. I mean, I had the king of fire service podcasting on a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and that man's a wealth of knowledge and wealth of information.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, how can I forget him? Jeremy, he helped me out a lot. We have him coming to do a lecture actually in February, and he helped me out a lot with back and forth. But overall, if you're interested one day, my goal is sometime in 25. I started it officially in 23, and what happened was literally January, I put all the social media out. February, I'm getting promoted.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, so now I had a lot of different things I had to focus on, and then life, family get in the way. So my goal is, though, to just have some good conversation like you're having. I have a list of people that reached out already when they saw I posted it and said, hey, I'd love to talk. I said, I promise everybody that reached out, I have your name in my phone, in my notes, and, to do episodes. I have topics to talk about. And it's not just going to be fire EMS. I want it to be a little bit of everything, leadership, public, private, a little bit of everything. So the name of it is the Concept Podcast. If you go on Instagram or TikTok, it's called, the Concept Podcast. And how that started was, everybody calls me Con, and it was like the concept. So I was like, why not? Let's go with it. The concept. So that's how I didn't want to, really put any fire EMS attachments to it, because I got you. So I just said, let's keep it simple, something funny. The concept, different concepts we're going to talk about. So that's what it's about. So if you're ever interested in checking it out,
I love it.
Have an episode out soon. I did actually record my first episode, believe it or not.
All right, awesome.
And like an intro episode, and I really just got to get the guts and get it up. That's what I really got to do, and just do it. Because everybody says that with the podcast, including you. You just got to do it.
Just got to do it.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
And again, listen, if one person goes, I like one thing you said, I'm happy with that. I'm not looking to make money off it. I'm not looking to. And if you don't listen, I say to people all the time, if you don't like what you're saying, just scroll away. You ain't got to bash me.
Exactly.
If you don't like what I got to say, or you don't, I'm not going to bash you and say I don't like that.
That's the problem with our society right now. Too many people think they're like go back a few weeks to Jeremy and I's conversation. Too many people think their opinion matters.
100%.
It doesn't.
Yeah, you're going to have haters. You're going to have opinions. You're going to have
just like it goes to the firehouse. Like, certain people think their opinion matters. Dude, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't. Like, going back to what we were saying before, like not even 10 minutes ago. This place is going to be around a lot longer than you.
Absolutely.
It's been here a lot longer than you, and it's going to be around after you.
Absolutely.
It is what it is. Make a positive impression, and maybe, people will remember your name.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to make a name.
Not at all.
I'm not making money off this. I'm not getting rich off it. It's just for fun. It's something to do. If you don't like it, scroll to the next podcast. It's that simple. You don't have to be sharing it. Oh, listen to this. No, just it's not for me. Same with a book. If you open a book and go, this book ain't for me. I'm sure it's got good information, but the reading I'm seeing is not for me.
Yeah.
I do it all the time, and that's totally okay. 100%. I'm not going to put nobody's podcast or work down. I try to support everybody.
Absolutely.
You're doing something.
100%.
Go with it.
100%. Do you have any classes coming up that you're teaching or put out there? Or?
Nah, top of my head, not really. We do have, and if you want, I can send you the flyer. We do have Jeremy coming in from National Fire Radio in February. It's an open class, $20 a person, which is pretty cheap for a lecture to come in for a 3-hour lecture. So if you want, I could send that to you. If you want to,
I'll
your
put that
guys. It's going to be in Deptford, and he's coming down, and that's why I opened it up. But as far as me, 2025, I usually do my teaching as it comes. Like, I'll get little gigs here and there. And a lot of people have asked me and said to me, yo, man, how come you never did an LLC? And I said, well, it was always easier to work for somebody because of insurance and because of all the paperwork. But I've really been contemplating it of starting my own company. But it's a lot of competition. But
honestly, don't tell the IRS that. But you know why I started this? Because all the classes I was going to, I could write off my travel. I could write off my hotel. I could write off the class.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to FDIC every year.
Yeah.
One of the guys I worked with was like, dude, why don't you start an LLC? You could write all this shit off as a business expense.
That's
what I started doing.
Yeah. And
we'll talk about that off air. It is actually a very easy process.
I would just like to, if I do it, I want to do education, training, and consulting. I mean, I'm not, just if somebody says, hey, look, we got this new policy. Can you give us some feedback on it? Or, hey, here's maybe something I would change or something that I would add, edit, whatever. Bring up different, bring some different experience to the table. Maybe bring on instructors and say, look, a lot of us all work multiple agencies for education. I work for 3 or 4, and I would do the same. Like, hey, listen, can I bring you on as an adjunct? I'll pay you this much for this class or by the hour, and you fall under, a vendor or whatever it may be. I'll work all that out later. But I've really been thinking about it because, I'll get weird requests sometimes. I have a few PDs and FDs I do refreshers for, CPR, or they brought me in a couple weeks ago to do a stop the bleed class, just whatever it is. Like, I'm not looking to expand to the point of like I can't handle it, but just little things. I do a lot with the traffic incident management. That's one of my fortes. I really enjoy doing that. I've done a lot with NJ, Tim and some of the guys there, and they're phenomenal people. So I'm helping them out. So it's a little bit of everything. Do a little bit of everything.
All right, excellent, outstanding. All right, brother. I'm gonna bump you in the backstage. We'll say our goodbyes off air.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Appreciate it again. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate the time. All right, everybody. That wraps up another fantastic episode, run number 44 with Captain Constantine Sypsomos. I'm a fucking idiot. I apologize. I'm horrible. Terrible with names. I apologize. All right, everybody. Have a great week. I'm hit or miss with whether I'm going to have a show next week with the new year and everything and getting back to work. Everybody have a great I hope you had a great holiday. Happy Hanukkah and Happy New Year until we talk and see you again.